Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the WrestlePalooza review. WrestlePalooza tonight was from the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is WWE's first PLE being live on the ESPN app as part of their ESPN Unlimited, which we all know with the ESPN deal, WWE signed with ESPN for ESPN to carry their premium live events on the ESPN Unlimited, which if you don't have ESPN Unlimited, it's going to be $30 per month that you would have to pay for. If you have, a cable provider that you get ESPN on, you could, get ESPN Unlimited for free and not having to pay the $30. Or if you have a VPN, you could watch the PLEs through Netflix, overseas. But I did not sign up for the ESPN Unlimited. I'm not paying $30. I actually got ESPN Unlimited for free because I have Verizon Fios. So, Verizon carries ESPN, and I was allowed to get the ESPN Unlimited for free because I talked with a Verizon agent, saying, I don't have the ESPN Unlimited, till. So they sent it to me through email and, logged into my Disney account and got the ESPN Unlimited. And the quality, I thought, was pretty decent, in my opinion, for the whole show on the ESPN Unlimited. But the show as a whole, WWE delivered a mediocre show with WrestlePalooza. This was not a good show, in my opinion. They're hyping this up, with ESPN, wanting, the fans to subscribe to the ESPN Unlimited and pay $30. And I'm like, this show, if I paid just to start with this show on the ESPN app for ESPN Unlimited, I would have felt cheated. That $30 would be a waste. But yeah, this was not a good show, in my opinion. We have Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, which kicked off the PLE tonight. We had The Vision, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, and they are taking on the Usos in a tag team match, which later on turned into a street fight. This went from a tag team match to a somewhat street fight. We had the vacant Women's World Championship on the line. Stephanie Vaquer versus Iyo Sky. We had a mixed tag team match. CM Punk and AJ Lee. They had taken on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, which was the match that I was looking forward to. And in the main event, you had the Undisputed WWE Championship on the line where Cody Rhodes defended the title against Drew McIntyre. But overall, WrestlePalooza, not a good show it was. It was very mediocre, in my opinion. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. WrestlePalooza opened up with a video where Triple H was saying that the source is entertainment because it showed WWE and ESPN, upstarting decades ago, and both WWE and ESPN are global powerhouses. And they end up showing some clips of past collaborations. So Triple H, like I said, ended up saying that the source is entertainment. It always has been and always will be. I forgot to mention we got a new WWE, then for now forever together intro, which I like. I thought it was better than the previous one that they did. So I really like the new then now forever together intro. And then after that video of the WWE ESPN thing, we went to Triple H, who was shown standing in the ring. Renegade by Stykes was playing. So Triple H ended up getting on the mic. He asked the crowd if they can feel it. He ended up saying what they are about to witness is the final form of sports and entertainment. He ended up saying that if tonight is your first night, he welcomes us to WWE. And he welcomes everyone to ESPN. And he welcomed everyone to WrestlePalooza. We had Pyro end up going off. So nice of Triple H to, go out there, introduce everybody, new people that are probably subscribed to the ESPN app. Welcome in everyone to WWE, ESPN, WrestlePalooza. So then we saw Michael Cole and Wade Barrett. They were at the commentary table. They welcomed us to the show. But then we went to the parking garage. And we saw a black SUV pulled up into the parking garage of the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Out of the SUV came out Pat McAfee and Tyrese Halliburton, of course, of the Pacers. Pat McAfee got a big ovation. He's been off of commentary for months. And Triple H ended up coming from behind Pat McAfee. Both of them embraced each other. So Pat McAfee joined the commentary table for the night. Michael Cole was getting all excited and hyped up. And, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, without a doubt, they are the best commentary team nowadays. They're very entertaining to listen to on commentary. I like Wade Barrett as well. He delivers, good on commentary. So Michael Cole ended up asking Wade Barrett, "Oh, did you know that Pat McAfee was going to be here?" And Wade Barrett ended up saying, "Oh, well, there were rumblings on the internet." And Michael Cole was like, "Oh, I don't go on the internet." "Yeah, sure you don't." So Michael Cole ended up telling Pat McAfee to keep his pants on because he doesn't want to see his junk anymore. So we had Pat McAfee joined Michael Cole and Wade Barrett at the commentary table. And then we went to the first match of the night. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. And this was your typical Brock Lesnar match here. So Brock Lesnar came out first. He walked around ringside. Michael Cole was cowering behind Wade Barrett after what Brock Lesnar did last night on SmackDown, where he picked up Michael Cole and just walked him around ringside and threw him into the ring. And that led to Corey Graves, coming in to save Michael Cole. Corey Graves being taken out by the F5 by Brock Lesnar. So Brock Lesnar got into the ring. And then John Cena made his way out. John Cena came out with a bunch of kids. I guess they were Make-A-Wish kids. So Cena had a new shirt that was sporting the yellow color of the Indiana Pacers. So I thought that was pretty cool. Kids, Make-A-Wish kids coming out along with John Cena. just hyping him up. This is the first time that John Cena and Brock Lesnar have gone at it since 2014. So Alicia Taylor ended up doing John Cena's introduction. He is the greatest of all time. The last true champion. And then she went to announce Brock Lesnar. But she was cut off by Paul Heyman. So Paul Heyman is back with Brock Lesnar. If you remember last night on SmackDown, Brock Lesnar, he approached Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar was like to Paul Heyman, let's talk. So that's what this is all about. So Paul Heyman ended up doing the announcement for Brock Lesnar, calling him the last real ass kicker. Saying, NCAA champion, UFC fighting champion, WWE champion. So, good intro from Paul Heyman to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar needs, Paul Heyman. Back in the day when Brock Lesnar ended up debuting in the WWE, he had Paul Heyman by his side. When you think of Brock Lesnar, you think of him with the F5, and you think of Paul Heyman managing Lesnar. So, with the match itself here, your typical Brock Lesnar match. This was just not a good match, in my opinion. Match got underway. Brock Lesnar immediately went to attack John Cena. Lesnar started punching Cena and kicking him to the corner. Lesnar ended up shouldering Cena in his midsection, quite a few times. Cena ended up fighting back with some right hands to Lesnar, but Lesnar quickly floored Cena with a clothesline. Lesnar then pulled Cena up. He ended up hitting a short arm clothesline. Lesnar ended up whipping Cena hard into the opposite corner. Cena then collapsed down to the canvas. Lesnar pulled Cena up, whipped him sternum first into the turnbuckles. Lesnar then scooped Cena up. He started walking around the ring with Cena on his shoulders, and he ended up hitting Cena with a running power slam. So Lesnar then shouted, "It's time to go to Suplex City, bitches." So this led to Lesnar connecting with a German suplex to Cena, the first German suplex that Lesnar hit here in the match. Man, can you remember back in the day when Brock Lesnar did not have a German suplex and an F5 in his matches, when he actually laid out some more moves than just a suplex and an F5? Man, I'd like to see that Brock Lesnar again from back in the day nowadays. We're doing more moves than just a German suplex and an F5. So the German suplex that connected to Cena from Lesnar, it forced Cena to get out of the ring. It knocked him out of the ring. Cena slowly got back into the ring. Lesnar applied a bear hug on Cena. Cena powered up. He started to break Lesnar's grip. Lesnar then powered through. He kept the bear hug applied on Cena. Cena then broke free of bear hug. He then scooped Lesnar up for the AA. Lesnar quickly slid off, and he connected with a vicious clothesline. Another vicious clothesline to Cena. So Lesnar then stood over Cena, mocked him. Lesnar applied a waistlock and connected with a German suplex. So Lesnar then held up two fingers to signal the second German suplex that Cena's going to take in Suplex City. Lesnar then pulled Cena to his feet. He kicked Cena in his midsection, to which that led to Cena collapsing to his knees. He was shown gasping for air, selling those kicks from Lesnar. So Lesnar scooped Cena up. Cena slid off. He shoved Lesnar into the turnbuckles. He then hit a trio of run shoulder tackles to Lesnar, but Lesnar didn't go down. Cena then delivered a fourth run shoulder tackle, and that fourth shoulder tackle took Lesnar down. Cena then connected with the AA, to Lesnar. He then pulled Lesnar up, hit a second AA. Cena then walked around. He then grabbed Lesnar for a third AA. Cena ended up going for the cover, and that led to Lesnar kicking out. Cena immediately ended up transitioning to going for the 5-knuckle shuffle. So he did the whole, you can't see me. And before Cena can drop the fist for the 5-knuckle shuffle, Lesnar then popped up, and he ended up hitting Cena with the F5. Lesnar then pulled Cena up, hit a second F5, and he then ended up scooping Cena up again, third F5. So Lesnar then pulled Cena up as he was trying to recover for a few minutes, because of course Lesnar has not competed in 2 years, so he had to take a moment to recover. Lesnar then pulled Cena up and delivered a fourth F5. So Lesnar stood over Cena. Cena slowly crawled around. He started to pull himself up. Lesnar then sized up Cena and delivered a fifth F5. Lesnar then grabbed Cena, hit a sixth F5. So he went for the cover, and there you go. Brock Lesnar ended up winning the match. It took 6 F5s for Lesnar to take Cena out. So post-match, Brock Lesnar was celebrating. Lesnar got out of the ring. He walked around ringside. Lesnar then looked at the referee, checking on Cena. He got back into the ring. He grabbed the ref. He then hit the ref with the F5. Lesnar then grabbed the ref by his pants and threw him. And so Lesnar then grabbed Cena, hit him with a 7th F5. 7 F5s now that Lesnar hit Cena with. And when Lesnar hit Cena with the 7th F5, it cut to the crowd of children crying. So Lesnar then took off his gloves and walked to the back, and pretty much that was basically that. I mean, when Lesnar was hitting those F5s, when he hit that third F5, you saw his face all red. Looked like he looked like a beat. So yeah, your typical Brock Lesnar match here. Just German suplex, F5s, and that was that. So then we saw the replay of Brock Lesnar, just assaulting Cena. John Cena got to his feet. He left the ring. Crowd was chanting, "Thank you, Cena." He stopped to acknowledge the crowd cheering for him, and he headed to the back. Pretty much that was that. And then we had the Usos versus The Vision. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Of course, they were accompanied by Paul Heyman. LA Knight was the special guest referee of the match here. So the Usos end up making their entrance out, and they made their way through the arena concourse. So Jimmy Uso got on the mic. He ended up telling everyone to get the flashlights on their phones fired up, because they're about to show ESPN how WWE gets down. And Jey Uso ended up saying 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. So of course the crowd doing the yeet. And this took up 8 minutes of this entrance by the Usos? I'm like, really? Can we get to the match here? 8 minutes of the Usos just taking it in with the crowd, everybody going yeeting. So the Usos end up getting the ring. The crowd end up wanting the Usos to run it back. So I'm like, oh my God, can we get to the match already? And of course, more yeeting that we got here. 8 minutes of nothing but yeeting. and the Usos taking it in from the crowd. So then, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed came out. They made their way. So the match got underway, which this was a good tag team match here. And then later on, it turned to a street fight, no holds barred match. I'm like, it went from a tag team match to a street fight, no holds barred match. Seriously. Tables being pulled out. Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker using steel chairs. Yeah, this didn't even feel like a tag team match. More, like I said, more of a street fight, no holds barred match. So Jey Uso and Braun Breaker end up going face to face. So Jimmy Uso held Jey back. LA Knight ended up ordering each team to their corner. He called for the bell. Match got underway. Jey and Bronson Reed start off the match. Both guys locked up. Bronson Reed then shoved Jey to the corner. He started punching and stomping Jey down. He then whipped Jey into the corner. Jey sidestepped an avalanche from Reed. Jey ended up hitting a snap kick and a back elbow to Reed, and then another snap kick to Reed. Jey then tagged in Jimmy, and we had a double team of Jimmy and Jey. They ended up hitting Bronson Reed with a double super kick, and they then ended up hitting a double uppercut to Reed. Jimmy then tackled Reed into the corner. Jey then avalanched Reed. Jimmy then chopped Reed's chest, and he hit the ropes, but Reed came back and connected with a back elbow to Jimmy. Reed put Jimmy in the corner and tagged in Braun Breaker. Breaker came in, he started punching away at Jimmy in the corner, also shouldering Jimmy away. Breaker then got in LA Knight's face as Knight started mocking Breaker. Breaker ended up sending Jimmy out of the ring and tagged Bronson Reed back in. Reed then ended up going under the ring as Breaker ended up distracting Knight. So this part of the match led to me saying, oh, this is a street fight, no holds barred match instead of a tag team match. Reed grabbed a steel chair. Knight caught Bronson Reed. Jimmy ended up kicking Reed in his ribs. He grabbed the chair. Knight intentionally ended up turning his back so that Jimmy can hit Bronson Reed on the back with the steel chair. Breaker then attacked Jimmy. Jey then wiped out both Breaker and Reed with a diving cross body block off the top rope to the floor. So Jimmy got Reed in the ring. He started up the 10 punches. Breaker then whipped Jey into the ring post. Jimmy ended up chopping Reed's chest. Reed then reversed the whip, so Jimmy ducked a clothesline and he hit the ropes. Breaker then pulled the top rope down to knock Jimmy out of the ring. Breaker ended up going to ringside and he charged around and he ended up laying out Jimmy with a leaping shoulder tackle. Breaker then put Jimmy back into the ring. He started mounting Jimmy with some right hands. Reed then tagged in. Breaker jumped on Reed's back. Reed ended up hitting Jimmy with a big splash. So Reed ended up going for the cover and Jimmy kicked out. Reed then ended up sending Jimmy out of the ring as Jey got on the apron. Reed ended up going under the ring and he grabbed a steel chair. He smashed the chair off Jimmy's back. And LA Knight was in view of that chair shot. So Knight didn't disqualify Bronson Reed. So then Reed put 2 chairs in the ring as the crowd was chanting, "We want tables." So Reed then pulled a table out from under the ring. He then put the table back under the ring, which got a boost from the crowd. Reed got back into the ring. He dropped an elbow. He ended up wedging a chair in the corner. Breaker then tagged in and he elbowed Jimmy in his head. Breaker then ended up hitting a stand exploder suplex. Breaker then pulled Jimmy up and connected with a vertical suplex. Breaker then ended up going for the cover. He slid off, and just like his uncle, Scott Steiner, he was doing push-ups. So, little nod to Breaker's Uncle Scott Steiner. So Bronson Reed then tagged back in. He ended up pinning a senton splash to Jimmy. Bronson Reed then opened the chair in the center of the ring. He put Jimmy's head on the chair. Reed charged. Jimmy ended up hitting Reed with a drop kick to his knees, which knocked Bronson Reed's face into the chair. Breakker then quickly ended up tagging in, and he knocked Jay off the apron. Breakker ended up sending Jay into the ring steps. He then quickly ended up getting into the ring and hit Jimmy with another stand exploder. So we had later on Breakker ended up getting in Knight's face because he ended up hitting a diving bulldog on Jimmy. So he got in Knight's face about the count. So we had later on where Jimmy ended up retrieving a table from under the ring. The crowd ended up popping for that. Usos set up the table in the ring. So Breakker and Reed ended up attacking the Usos from behind. Bronson Reed leaned the table against the corner, and he couldn't get one of the legs of the table up. So Breakker ended up going to spear Jay through the table, but he super kicked Jay. Bronson Reed then ended up eating a super kick, and the Usos ended up hitting both Bronson Reed and Braun Breakker with stereo super kicks. They then delivered the 1D to Breakker. So they end up going for the cover, and Reed ended up breaking up the pin with the cannonball. So, but at the end of the match, we had Breakker spearing the Usos through the table in the corner. You had Jay busted open, bleeding profusely. So Reed tagged in. He went up to the top rope, and he delivered the tsunami on Jay. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Division ended up winning the match. So post-match, Bronson Reed wanted LA Knight to hold his arm up. Knight declined to raise Bronson's arm up. So pretty much that was basically that. Overall, match was okay, in my opinion. And then we had Stephanie Vaquer versus Iyo Sky. This is for the Women's World Championship that is vacant because Naomi had to relinquish it because she's pregnant. And this was a very good match here. In my opinion, this was the best match of the night with Stephanie Vaquer and Iyo Sky. I thought both these women, one-on-one, did a very good job here. They had chemistry in the match here. So the match got underway. Iyo and Vaquer end up locking up. Vaquer ended up hitting a waistlock takeover. Iyo popped up and applied a waistlock on Vaquer. Vaquer ended up transitioning into a hammerlock on Iyo. Iyo slid off, and she pulled Vaquer down and applied a front face lock. They ended up locking up again. Vaquer ended up trapping Iyo's hand under her foot. Vaquer ended up kicking Iyo away. Both of them end up going for the test of strength. Vaquer ended up applying a head scissor. Iyo ended up doing a handstand, and she ended up bouncing out of the head scissor. She ended up applying a side headlock on Vaquer. Vaquer ended up fighting up. She ended up whipping Iyo off. Vaquer ended up following Iyo into the ropes and rolled her up, to which Iyo ended up kicking out. And they were doing some pinning combos, which I am not a fan of. I think, when they exchange pin attempts, they roll over, pin attempt, roll over, pin attempt. I think that's so stupid. I don't like when they do pinning combos where they roll each other up. So we had Vaquer end up signaling for the Devil's Kiss. Iyo ended up getting out of that. Iyo ended up hitting an arm drag. She ended up hitting the ropes. She ended up doing a double handspring. We had later on, we had Vaquer end up attacking Iyo. Iyo ended up countering into a double underhook backbreaker. we had Stephanie Vaquer end up doing the Devil's Kiss later on, which was cool. I liked how Stephanie Vaquer and Rhea Ripley did the Devil's Kiss on NXT this past Tuesday, and Booker T, his face was like, ah, ah, ah. It was so hilarious. At the end of the match, Stephanie Vaquer ended up hitting a splash onto Iyo. Iyo's knees were hurt because Iyo ended up hitting a bullet train, and she ended up pulling her knee pads down, and Iyo ended up hitting the bullet train to Stephanie Vaquer with her exposed knees. So with that, Stephanie ended up hitting a splash on Iyo. She ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Stephanie Vaquer ended up winning the match, and she is your new Women's World Champion, which I called. Stephanie Vaquer, with her being the Women's World Champion, it was the right move. So, post-match, Stephanie Vaquer was all emotional, and she had kneeling before Iyo with the Women's World Championship. Iyo ended up putting the Women's World Championship on Vaquer's shoulder. Vaquer ended up posing with the championship as pyro ended up going off. Her father was at ringside. She went over to her father, and they ended up hugging. Both Stephanie and her father ended up having tears in their eyes. Her father held up the title. Very nice moment there for Stephanie Vaquer. She deserved the win here. But overall, this was the best match of the night, in my opinion. And then we had Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. They have taken on CM Punk and AJ Lee. This is AJ Lee's WWE in-ring return since 2015. And this was a good match here. And the match started off slow because in this match, they were telling the story. Like, it wasn't fast-paced like when the bell rings, all right, we got to start punching and going at each other. No, they actually took their time for the match here. Where AJ Lee wanted to start off the match, Becky Lynch had no interest. So CM Punk and Seth Rollins started off. Rollins and Punk ended up going face-to-face. Rollins backed up. Becky then blind tagged in. AJ ended up smirking as Becky ended up getting in Punk's face. Of course, typical Becky Lynch, when she was in the ring with CM Punk, she would just strike Punk and slap him. And the crowd wanted Punk to give Becky the GTS, which that led Punk to tag in AJ. So AJ ended up coming in. Becky ended up slapping Punk in the face, and he ended up getting out of the ring. This led to AJ chasing Becky around the ring. Becky got into the ring and tagged Rollins in. So Rollins and Becky were laughing at ringside. They both end up kissing. And out of nowhere, we see Punk wiping Rollins out with a suicide dive, which Rollins went over the commentary table. Punk ended up bouncing Rollins off the table and sent him over the barricade into the crowd. Punk then jumped off the barricade and attacked Rollins. Punk ended up chasing Rollins into the ring. Rollins quickly ended up tackling Punk into the corner, and he ended up hitting some shoulder tackles. Becky started choking Punk as the ref was tending to Rollins, so the ref didn't even see this happening, with Becky ended up choking Punk. So the ref ended up keeping AJ from getting into the ring. Punk ended up shouldering Rollins in his midsection. AJ then choked Rollins as the ref was distracted. So the ref had to hold Becky out of the way, had to hold Becky back. So Punk ended up hitting Rollins with a inverted atomic drop. Punk ended up coming off the top rope with a diving axe handle to Rollins. Punk ended up going up to the top for another axe handle to Rollins' skull. Punk ended up going back to the top rope. He leapt off the top. Rollins ended up kicking Punk, and he ended up going for the pedigree. Punk ended up getting out of that, and Punk ended up going for the GTS. Rollins slid off. You had later on, AJ ended up finally getting into the ring, and she had pinned a Luke Death Press to Becky, started punching away at Becky, and AJ looked good in this match here. No signs of ring rust on AJ Lee here after her being out of the ring for 10 years. You had at one point where AJ ended up going for the manhandle slam using Becky's move, which that was cool. You had Rollins and Becky end up laying out Punk and AJ with pedigrees, and they both went for the cover, and both Punk and AJ end up kicking out. So at the end of the match, you had AJ end up locking in the Black Widow on Becky. Becky had no choice but to tap out, so CM Punk and AJ Lee ended up winning the match. And it was, a good match, in my opinion. So this is not the last time that we're going to see AJ Lee and Becky Lynch go at it. I think AJ and Becky are going to have another match. And I think the Women's Intercontinental Championship is going to be on the line. And I think AJ Lee is going to be the one to take the Women's Intercontinental Championship off of Becky. So that's how the way I see it. Then we had the American Badass, The Undertaker. He came out, of course, motorcycle, good old vintage American Badass Undertaker. Had come out to Kid Rock, American Badass song. He came out to the arena on his motorcycle, and he stopped in front of Stephanie McMahon, who was sitting at ringside. You saw Nick Khan there, who was the president of WWE. So Undertaker had a mic in hand, and he looked at Stephanie. Undertaker ended up going over the barricade, and ended up asking Stephanie if the seat next to her is open. Undertaker ended up sitting next to Stephanie. He ended up telling Stephanie that he was in Vegas for the fight that happened last week, and that she was there as well. Undertaker ended up saying, now here, I am at WrestlePalooza in Indianapolis, trying to steal a check. So he ended up saying he comes out here, and here Stephanie is. So Undertaker ended up saying that him and Stephanie have known each other for quite a long time. So Undertaker ended up asking Stephanie, are you ready? So Undertaker ended up saying to Stephanie, are you ready? So Undertaker made the announcement that it is his esteemed honor to be able to induct Stephanie as the first member of the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame. So there you go. Stephanie McMahon is going to be the first member of the class of 2026 WWE Hall of Fame. So very well deserved for Stephanie McMahon there. So that was, a pretty nice, thing there. For Undertaker to come out there and say to Stephanie that she's going to be the first inductee into the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame. But good moment. Main event. Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed WWE Championship. This was just very meh, in my opinion. Nothing really great happened in this match. You had Drew McIntyre Claymore through the commentary table, hurting his knee, and that led to Cody hitting a top rope Cody cutter to Drew McIntyre. Cody followed up with the crossroads. He ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Cody Rhodes ended up winning the match, retaining the Undisputed WWE Championship. Not surprised there. And that was how WrestlePalooza went off the air. But overall, WrestlePalooza, very mid-show, was not a good show by any means. This was. But anyway, that's it for the WrestlePalooza review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoy this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until next video, I'll see you all later.